Hello everyone. Let's start with the part 2 of the topic sampling. In the previous part, in the part 1, just to recapitulate a bit, we had talked about the sampling process, population, within population, general population, target population, accessible population. In this point, I would also like to say that accessible population is also your sampling frame from which you choose your final sample. And as far as the sample size is concerned, it differs what kind of research you're doing, whether it's a quantitative research or a qualitative research. So usually for quantitative research, the sample size is quite big, and for qualitative research, even a small sample size is also considered good enough. So 15 to 20 is also good enough. Now coming to the different types, we had also talked about why do we do sampling and what's the main purpose of doing sampling. Now we come down to what are the different types of doing sampling. So when we say the different types, it's broadly divided into two different types. One is called probability sampling and the other one is called non-probability sampling. Now what is probability sampling? Probability sampling basically means, as the name itself indicates, what are the chances of getting selected, right? What is the probability of getting selected? So it's a random selection. Probability sampling means it is a sudden selection without planning. For example, if a teacher walks into the class and randomly starts asking questions from the students. Now each student sitting in the class will have an equal probability of getting his turn to answer because the teacher is randomly choosing the students, right? So also another way of looking at it is if you're tossing a coin, the chances of heads coming or tails coming is the same, right? Unless it is a Sholay coin. Okay, jokes apart. So within probability, I hope you understand probability sampling. Probability sampling means it's a sudden selection without planning. Right, now coming to the different types of probability sampling. Within the different types of probability sampling, the first one that we have is a simple random sampling. Simple random sampling means, for example, I want to choose the leader, a student's leader in the class. Now I have a class of about 100 students and I want to choose a student's leader. Now I want each student to get an equal chance of being selected. So what do? I write down their names on a sheet of paper, put it in a bowl, mix it up and pick one chit, right? So each student has an equal chance of getting selected. This is called simple random sampling. It's also used in the lottery method or a lucky draw method. If you have seen a lottery method or a lucky draw method working, you know what is a simple random sampling. Coming to systematic random sampling, this is the second type. Systematic random sampling, now it is random, but there is a system to it. For example, there are 100 students in the class and I need 10 students. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide 100 by 10 and it comes 10. So now I have to choose, but what I'll say is I will choose them randomly, but this random selection will have a sort of a system. Means I'll choose every 10th student in the class. So I'll choose the 10th student, then the next 20th, the one sitting at the 20th position, then 30th, 40th and so on. This is called systematic random sampling. It is random, but there is a slight system in it and you're choosing the sample on a fixed interval, from a fixed interval, right? Now coming to the third type, which is called the stratified random sampling. Now what is stratified random sampling? What do you understand by stratification? You must have read stratification in your previous semester. Stratification means dividing the group into subgroups. So this division can be on the basis of caste, age, religion, ethnicity, educational background, nationality, anything. So in stratified random sampling, what you do is your purpose is to ensure that the different subgroups in that sample get adequately represented within the sample. So for example, One might divide a sample of adults into subgroups by age, like 18 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, so on and so forth. To stratify the sample, the researcher then randomly selects proportional amount of people from each group. This is an effective sampling technique for studying how a trend or an issue might differ across different subgroups. When do you use stratified sampling? Now, there are many situations where the researcher would choose stratified random sampling over other types of sampling. First, it is used when the researcher wants to examine subgroups within a population. Researcher also uses this technique when they want to observe the relationship between two or more subgroups, or when they want to examine the rare extremes of a population. With this type of sampling, the researcher is guaranteed that subjects from each subgroup are included in the final sample, whereas simple random sampling does not ensure that subgroups are represented equally or proportionately within the sample. Now comes the last type, which is called the cluster sampling, or we also call it multi-stage sampling. Now, cluster sampling is when you divide when you have to study a bigger geographical area and you want to for the sake of convenience, what you do is you divide that bigger geographical area into clusters. For example, and it's also called multi-stage. How we do it is, if the government wants to take a sample of about 10,000 households residing in the state of Haryana, so at the first stage, the state of Haryana can be divided into a number of districts, and then the few districts can be selected randomly. At the second stage, the chosen districts can further be subdivided into a number of villages, and then the sample of few villages can be taken at random. Now at the third stage, the desired number of households can be selected from the villages chosen at the second stage. Thus at each stage, the size of the sample, if you see, is reducing, it's becoming smaller, and the research study is becoming more precise. Right, so this is called cluster sampling or multi-stage sampling. Now coming to, so these were our different types of probability samplings. Simple random, from simple we go to systematic random, from systematic we go to stratified random, and from from stratified we go to cluster or multi-stage random sampling. Okay, now comes the non-probability sampling techniques. Now within non-probability, we have various types. The first one within that is, now whatever comes into non-probability, I have mostly spoken about it in the class while giving various examples, so it won't be very difficult for you to understand. The first one within non-probability sampling techniques is convenience sampling technique. So non-probability means it's a non-random sampling. The randomization part is absent here. You're not randomly choosing. So the first within it is convenience sampling. What do you mean by convenience sampling? If you remember, I had talked about my research on partner abuse in later life, and I had told you that I had conducted 2 FGDs for that. The first FGD was conducted with the women who used to come to Tata Institute to take part in some recreational activities. So there was already a formed group, and they used to come there to engage in recreational activities. They were easily available to me. It was very convenient for me to approach them and to include them into my sample. So this is what is called convenience sampling, that the sample is easily available. Right, next comes purposive sampling. Now what is purposive sampling? So researcher selects the sample with some specific purpose. Now giving an example again from my very research, I said apart from doing the FGDs, I also spoke to the stakeholders in the area of partner violence. I said who are the different stakeholders? Somebody who's heading a helpline, somebody who is working with an old age home, somebody who's an advocate dealing with the cases of partner abuse, or say a clinical psychologist who takes up these cases, or a counseling psychologist who counsels the women who are suffering abuse. All these people I chose purposefully. Why? Because they are serving my purpose. What is my purpose? I want to get data about what types of abuse the women are facing in their old age. Now these are the people who can give me the data because they deal with such women on a regular basis, so they serve my purpose. So I'm purposefully choosing them. That is why it's called a purposive sampling technique. Coming to the third one, which is a snowball sampling technique. So I've given you example for this as well in one of my lectures, wherein we spoke about when I was telling you about my study on substance users. So I told you that it was very difficult to find out when during the daytime it was very difficult to find out substance users because I didn't know their locations, and suddenly I found one person who was into substance use, and he gave me references of many such people. So he sent me to another substance user. From that substance user I went to the third one. From the third one I went to the fourth one. So they sort of gave me references of each other. So this is what is called snowball. Remember it in the form of a ball which is starting from one point and rolling over to the different points. That is called a snowball sampling technique. So you get you find out one person, and that person refers you to the other person. That's how you find. It's mostly used with populations who are marginalized, very difficult to find. Suppose you want to work on people who are asexual. Now people have started coming out and talking about asexuality, but earlier it was not very commonly spoken about because it's quite stigmatized still. So if you find one person, that person can refer you to someone else, and that's how you find this population. So mostly used with population which is difficult to find, right? Then comes the last one in non-probability sampling, which is called the quota sampling technique. Quota, as you know what the word quota means. Quota means a fixed share. So you have heard it when we talk about reservation, that so and so caste has so much reservation or gender has so much reservation, which is called quota. Now suppose I want to select 100 students from IGU. I fix a quota. I said out of these 100 students, which is my sample size, I want 50 girl students, 50 females. So I've fixed that quota. So this quota can be fixed on various bases, on the basis of gender, religion. It can be whoever belongs to above poverty line or below poverty line, on the basis of age. So what are the steps? You divide the sample into subgroups which are mutually exclusive, and figure out the weightage of each subgroup. So you define a weightage. How much of one subgroup you want in your sample. So I said in my sample of 100 students I want 50 females. So I'm deciding a weightage, right? And this is how the sample is chosen. Now you say, how is this different from a stratified random sampling? Because there also you're choosing from the subgroups, right? So one is that in stratified random sampling it is random selection, but here this one quota sampling is planned. That's the main difference. So we've spoken about both probability sampling and non-probability sampling and the different types of it. I hope you've understood them, and I have given you detailed notes on this. Please go through the detailed notes, and first go through this video and then go through the detailed notes. You would not find any problems understanding these concepts. Thank you so much, and you can still reach out to me if you have any queries. Thanks.